the fall of Tehran, strategic decapitation, the Black Swan event, and the new Global Asset Protocol. Coalition forces neutralize the SG operational arm in the Middle East and trigger the global cleanup. March 10, 2026. The coordinated offensive between Washington and resistance forces in Israel has dismantled the Iranian regime's command core in an action unprecedented in modern history. High-level intelligence sources confirm that the joint strike not only neutralized strategic enrichment infrastructure, but marked the end of the line for the supreme leadership of Ali Khamenei. Although the remnants of the propaganda apparatus attempt to sustain a narrative of continuity through the use of body doubles, a classic hidden government disinformation tactic, used to prevent systemic panic, field reports from the silver threads indicate that the command structure was eliminated during the very first impact of B-2 Spirit bombers. The confirmed neutralization of Mojtaba Khamenei, the immediate successor, signals the total decapitation of the power lineage that served as the SG operational arm in the Middle East. Tehran's military command was virtually vaporized. In a single emergency meeting within a supposedly impenetrable bunker, 48 top-tier defense leaders were struck by precision vectors from coalition forces. What remains on Iranian soil are merely low-level assets and front figures operating without any centralized direction. Meanwhile, control over the state narrative has been irreversibly broken. Earth Alliance cyber warfare units breached state television Channel 3, broadcasting messages calling on the civilian population to reclaim national sovereignty. Interpol has already issued red notices for the survivors of the Revolutionary Guard, who now find themselves leaderless and without external funding channels. In the theater of maritime operations, the technological superiority of the Earth Alliance is absolute and indisputable. Coalition Forces Command has confirmed the sinking of the Iranian Jamaran-class corvette in the Gulf of Oman, following a failed attempt to interfere with commercial routes. Alliance nuclear-powered submarines received full rules of engagement. ROE, authorization to neutralize any vessel representing a kinetic threat to merchant ships in the Strait of Hormuz. The hidden government's bluff regarding a supposed attack on the USS Abraham Lincoln was exposed by monitoring units. Enemy vectors were intercepted long before reaching the primary defense perimeter. Despite extreme pressure and certain inevitable tactical errors in a conflict of this magnitude, such as the loss of operators and a fighter jet down by friendly fire in Kuwait due to local communication failures, the directive from Washington is terminal. Remaining forces must lay down their arms or face total annihilation. The regime's decapitation is now reinforced by confirmation of the departure of figures such as Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and Khamenei's wife, leaving an insurmountable power vacuum. In a desperate reorganization attempt, 88 high-ranking Ayatollahs met secretly to name a new leadership. The location was identified in real time by Silver Thread's intelligence and pulverized by a surgical airstrike, eliminating the entire line of succession in a single kinetic event. Saudi Arabia's official entry into the conflict, authorizing the use of its strategic bases, definitively isolates the SG Mafia's ideological allies in the region. Tactical security in the Strait is guaranteed by the deployment of the USS Gerald Ford and the intensive use of the A-10 Thunderbolt, designed to incinerate any naval blockade attempt. While B-1B bombers conduct deep night incursions, the laser dome system has been successfully activated, neutralizing remaining ballistic missiles almost instantaneously. The Pentagon estimates that this high-intensity phase will consolidate new governance in Iran, totally disconnected from globalist interests. The impact of this offensive is not limited to Middle Eastern borders. It reverberates with full force in Brazil. The strategic closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the massive cancellation of maritime insurance policies have triggered a domino effect that will drive fuel prices to critical levels, with estimates of up to a 50% increase. This scenario is the direct result of diplomatic collusion with global tyrannies. Washington is monitoring Brasilia's irresponsible rapprochement with the Tehran regime as a grave deviation in bilateral relations, especially after confirmation that operational bases for cells linked to the SG remain active on Brazilian soil. The coalition forces cleanup operation continues on a global scale. In Mexico, intelligence provided by the United States enabled the elimination of El Choclo, a key piece on the narco-trafficking board who served as the financial engine for radical left agendas across the continent. Simultaneously, in Cuba, A total energy blockade has brought the island to a state of economic paralysis, forcing the local dictatorship into a position of unconditional surrender. The domino effect is striking the heart of globalist elites. Power centers in Europe and Hollywood are facing a collapse in the supply of biological byproducts used in the SG Mafia's rejuvenation rituals. The shortage of these compounds is generating visible physical collapses and the accelerated replacement of well-known public figures with synthetic versions or clones. Even European monarchical structures are under severe scrutiny. Intelligence reports indicate that the power transition in Russia has already been completed under alliance terms. The current Kremlin occupant now works in direct coordination with the Silver Threads to expose the hybrid nature and the lineages that have controlled the continent for centuries. The fall of dictatorships in Mexico and Colombia, combined with the isolation of Iran, removes the financial oxygen from the radical left in Latin America. Military tribunals and advanced intelligence units have begun exposing the darkest connections of the global elite, reaching levels of depravity that the civilian public can barely conceive. Assets of powerful figures are being seized globally as their names emerge in files of treason and biological trafficking. Data processed by the Silver Threads indicates that the network for the abduction of minors, which feeds the bioactive extraction industry for the SG elite, is being dismantled. Widely known entertainment figures are being unmasked. Evidence suggests that many originals were replaced after suffering severe withdrawal crises from the chemical compounds produced by this network. Even the British royal lineage and high European echelons are under crossfire, with members being sidelined after direct links to the Epstein blackmail files were confirmed. Meanwhile, the global financial system has entered a free-fall spiral, signaling the definitive arrival of the Black Swan event. In a single session, over $1 billion was drained from the stock market. Tech giants such as Nvidia, Apple, and Amazon are suffering massive losses while oil and fiat dollars spike, accelerating the obsolescence of the old banking system. Traditional banks are on high alert against cyber attacks, while Project Odin remains in absolute readiness for a possible activation of global martial law. This protocol provides for a strategic communications blackout, necessary for the final cleanup of SG Mafia assets without interference from their mass manipulation tools. The destruction of Iranian nuclear capability and the liquidation of its religious leadership end the hidden government's ability to blackmail the planet with an atomic threat. The subterranean extrusion phase continues with intensity. Magnitude 4.3 tremors detected in strategic zones are not of natural origin, but the direct result of the use of bunker busters dropped by B-2 bombers. The objective is the total annihilation of command bunkers built hundreds of meters deep. The drone and missile infrastructure that served the armed wing of globalism has been virtually eliminated. The information war has reached its zenith. Donald Trump has confirmed that the phase of bombshell revelations has begun, along with the global green light for the activation of the new Real Asset Protocol, approved by 209 nations. This new protocol establishes sovereign currencies backed by gold under the custody of the White Dragon Order, ending centuries of debt-based fiat slavery. The downfall of satellites controlled by the hidden government is imminent. The NRP, Narrative Rupture Protocol, will be utilized by coalition forces to broadcast historical and tactical truth without the filter of corporate media. The Operations Center has identified the global left's desperate attempt to smear Trump's image through old files linked to Jeffrey Epstein. However, Silver Thread's intelligence analysis confirms the strategic reality. Trump operated as a high-level infiltrator within the Hollywood and New York elite. His objective was always to map the SG Mafia's modus operandi to destroy it from within. The system's relentless persecution against him is proof of his effectiveness. He terminated blackmail operations, withdrew the United States from globalist organizations, and exposed the mechanisms of mass mind control. Actions to restore American and global sovereignty include drastic measures: abolition of indoctrination centers, an end to systematic brainwashing in educational institutions, Hollywood sanitation, appointment of alliance observers to purge the film industry, biological security, an end to mandatory experimental chemical substances, and the restoration of nutritional integrity. Counter-narcoterrorism. Total destruction of funding channels that sustained Latin American dictatorships. While the old narrative attempts to cling to manufactured scandals from 30 years ago, coalition forces are reconfiguring the world economy. The white intervention is cleansing the planet of systemic and financial pollutants, and the transition to the golden age is now an irreversible process. The fall of manipulated religious institutions has also begun. The sieve of truth has reached the Vatican, where Pope Leo XIV has initiated the purge of infiltrated elements, serving the globalist agenda. The naval capability of the Iranian regime has been neutralized in its entirety. 30 warships from the enemy's operational arm were sent to the bottom of the ocean by coalition forces, eliminating any organized resistance in the Persian Gulf and ensuring the security of global energy routes. Defense Command has confirmed that the struggle has entered its decisive phase. Surrender or total elimination. While the old axis collapses, the Earth Alliance establishes absolute deterrence against any remaining retaliation from the SG Mafia. The unmasking of the entertainment industry, politics, and financial institutions is irreversible. The Department of Justice has begun the massive release of hidden files, linking international agencies to the abduction of minors for the global elite. The capture of strategic cartel leaders, such as the El Mento case, revealed a database of 221 global leaders who placed orders with technical specifications. This is the Alliance's final weapon to decapitate the hidden government hierarchies. The financial Black Swan will force the definitive transition to backed currencies, while the Brazilian Ministry of Defense is being pressured to clarify the presence of hostile foreign infrastructures on national soil. The war, however, is not merely kinetic, it is a dispute for the fundamental truth. Great Babylon, the structure of deception built by the SG, through millennia of dogmas and lies, is crumbling. The control system designed to act as a consciousness trap has been exposed. The original message of divine sovereignty is being reclaimed, and the NRP, Narrative Rupture Protocol, will be the breaking point for those still resisting raw reality. The Earth's new operating system demands the assimilation of higher frequencies, the end of religious intermediation, total energy freedom, and financial abundance via the new Real Asset Protocol. The liberating truth is being distributed homeopathically to prevent the mental collapse of the unprepared, but acceleration is inevitable. Expand your consciousness or be left behind. The domain of programmed scarcity is over. Iran was the first domino. The cleanup now turns toward the heart of the Americas. End of report. Do not forget to subscribe, enable notifications, and join the conversation in the comments. If you recognize the value of this information and wish to support the continuity of this project, please use the link in the description or the QR code on the screen. Your contribution is what keeps us independent and outside the reach of the control system. Thank you very much, and until the next report. Technical note. This content presents an independent and investigative analytical perspective based on open-source data and global geopolitical movements. The interpretations expressed herein constitute alternative strategic analysis, exercised under the fundamental right to freedom of expression and free thought, with the objective of offering deeper insight into the backstage of global power.